Your cat does strange things. They hide in the bathtub. They meow in a way that sounds almost pained. They follow you obsessively from room to room. They groom themselves until their fur falls out. They startle at sounds that shouldn't startle them. You think these are just quirks. Just how your cat is. But what if every single one of these strange behaviors is your cat's way of screaming, "I don't feel safe"? What if what you're interpreting as weird personality traits are actually distress signals you've been missing? Today on CreatureCode, we're exploring 6 strange behaviors that cats only exhibit when they feel emotionally unsafe. And once you understand what your cat is really telling you, you'll realize they've been communicating their fear for much longer than you realized. Your cat sits in the empty bathtub. For hours sometimes. Just sitting there. It seems random. It seems quirky. Maybe your cat just likes the cool porcelain, right? But think about what a bathtub is. It's an enclosed space with minimal escape routes. It's a container. It's a trap if something goes wrong. Why would a cat choose a trap as a hiding spot unless they were desperately seeking the security of enclosure? A bathtub is a psychological paradox for a cat. It's enclosed, which provides security. But it's also a contained space with limited exits, which creates vulnerability. A confident, emotionally safe cat would never choose a bathtub as a regular retreat. The vulnerability outweighs the security. But an emotionally unsafe cat. They're trading mobility for the psychological relief of walls. They need those walls right now more than they need quick escape routes. That need is so strong they're willing to accept the vulnerability. It's desperation disguised as preference. A 2019 study from animal behaviorists examined hiding behavior and its relationship to emotional safety in cats. Researchers found that cats exhibit different types of hiding based on their psychological state. Safe, secure cats hide in spots that maximize visibility and escape potential, behind furniture, under beds. Emotionally unsafe cats hide in enclosed spaces, closets, bathtubs, boxes, even if escape is compromised. The bathtub specifically showed up as a stress refuge, a space cats retreated to during periods of high anxiety or emotional dysregulation. When environmental stressors were removed and cats felt safer, bathtub hiding decreased dramatically. The cat no longer needed the security at the cost of escape trade-off. Most owners see the bathtub preference as cute or quirky. They don't realize it's a stress signal. They think their cat just discovered a cool spot. But if your cat is spending significant time in the bathtub, multiple hours daily, that's not preference. That's refuge seeking from something in their environment making them feel unsafe. Notice how often your cat retreats to the bathtub. If it's occasional, it's fine. If it's multiple times daily or for extended periods, investigate what's making them feel unsafe. Environmental stressors to consider: loud noises, traffic, construction, appliances. Unpredictable human activity, irregular schedule. Conflict with other pets. Handling stress, being picked up, petted beyond tolerance. Environmental changes, rearranged furniture, new objects. Address the stressor. Create more secure hiding spots elsewhere: cat trees, enclosed beds, cardboard boxes. The goal is to give your cat safe refuge that doesn't require them to sacrifice mobility. Within 1 to 2 weeks of addressing the stressor, bathtub refuge seeking should decrease as your cat feels safe enough to use more mobile hiding spots. When you identify and address what's making your cat feel unsafe, their bathtub hiding decreases. They're no longer desperately seeking enclosed security. They're confident enough to use normal hiding spots. You've eliminated the emotional insecurity driving the strange behavior. Your cat meows in a way that sounds wrong. It's not their normal meow. It sounds almost pained. Almost like they're calling for help. You check them over. No obvious injury. You take them to the vet. Physically, they're fine. But that meow keeps happening. And it sounds like your cat is in psychological pain, not physical pain. Cats use meowing to communicate with humans. But the quality of the meow changes based on their emotional state. A happy cat's meow sounds bright and assured. An anxious cat's meow sounds strained and questioning. A cat in emotional distress produces a meow that sounds pained, like they're desperately seeking reassurance. This pain meow is distinct from injury-related vocalization. It's your cat communicating, something is wrong and I need help. And the tragic part, most owners interpret it as attention-seeking or neediness. They don't realize their cat is communicating genuine distress. A 2020 study examined cat vocalizations and their relationship to emotional states. Researchers recorded meows from secure, confident cats, stressed cats, anxiety-prone cats, cats experiencing emotional distress. Using acoustic analysis, they found measurable differences in meow frequency, duration, and intensity. The distress meow had a distinctly higher pitch and longer duration than normal meows. Critically, researchers found that distress meowing decreased significantly when the cat's emotional safety was addressed. The cat wasn't suddenly avoiding vocalization. They were no longer in a state that required vocal distress communication. Most owners interpret the pained meow as attention-seeking. So they either ignore it, thinking the cat will stop if unrewarded, or reward it with attention, which only reinforces the distress vocalization. Owners who address the underlying emotional insecurity find that the pained meowing resolves naturally. The cat no longer feels the need to vocalize distress because they're no longer emotionally distressed. When you hear a meow that sounds wrong, strained, pained, questioning, don't dismiss it. Recognize it as your cat communicating emotional distress. Investigate the cause. Has something changed in their environment? Are they being handled in ways that make them anxious? Is there conflict with another pet? Is their routine unpredictable? Are they experiencing transitions or changes? Address the root cause rather than trying to stop the vocalization. When the emotional safety returns, the pained meow disappears naturally. Monitor the meow quality. As your cat feels safer, the meow should normalize, becoming brighter, shorter, less strained. When you address the emotional distress causing the pained meow, your cat's vocalization normalizes. They stop communicating in distress because they're no longer distressed. Their regular meow returns, clear, bright, and confident. Your cat follows you everywhere. From room to room. From the kitchen to the bedroom to the bathroom. They won't let you out of their sight. You think, oh, she loves me. She wants to be with me. But what if what you're interpreting as affection is actually separation anxiety? What if your cat is following you not because they love you, but because they're terrified of being alone? There's a difference between a cat choosing to be near you and a cat being unable to be away from you. One is affection. One is anxiety. An emotionally safe cat can happily settle in a different room than you. They know where you are. They trust you'll return. They're secure in your presence even in your absence. But an emotionally unsafe cat cannot tolerate separation. They need visual confirmation of your presence. They need to know exactly where you are at all times. They're experiencing low-level panic whenever you're out of sight. That obsessive following isn't love. It's fear. A 2021 study examined attachment patterns in cats and their relationship to emotional safety. Researchers measured distance maintained from owners' distress vocalizations when separated, behavioral changes when owners left, their visual field, heart rate and cortisol levels during separation. Securely attached cats showed variable distance from owners, no distress during brief separations, calm behavior when owners weren't visible, normal physiological stress markers. Anxiously attached cats, obsessive followers, showed minimal distance from owners' distress vocalizations during separation. Panic when owners left their field of vision, elevated cortisol and heart rate during separation. The breakthrough, anxious attachment correlated directly with feelings of emotional unsafety. When environmental factors increased safety, attachment patterns normalized. Most owners interpret obsessive following as a sign their cat loves them extra. They enjoy being followed. They don't realize their cat is experiencing separation anxiety. Owners who address the underlying insecurity find that their cat becomes more secure in their absence, allowing for more independent behavior alongside the affection. Distinguish between affectionate presence and anxious following. Does your cat panic when you go to the bathroom? Meow frantically when you're out of sight? Follow you into every room, unable to settle in another space? Show distress behaviors when you leave? If yes, your cat is experiencing emotional insecurity, not expressing love. Address the security, establish a predictable routine so your cat knows you'll return. Create comfortable spaces where your cat can settle independently. Practice brief separations and returns to build confidence. Reduce transitions and unpredictability in your presence. Ensure your cat has safe spaces they can access without you. Over 4 to 6 weeks of consistency, anxious following should decrease. Your cat becomes confident that separation is temporary and safe. When your cat feels emotionally safe, they no longer need to follow you obsessively. They can settle in different rooms. They can tolerate separation. They're still affectionate, but it's chosen affection, not anxious clinging. This shift indicates genuine emotional security. Your cat has bald patches. You look closer and notice raw skin. They're grooming obsessively, licking the same areas repeatedly until the hair falls out. You take them to the vet. Blood work is normal. Parasites are ruled out. The vet says, psychogenic alopecia. It's stress-related. But you think, my cat seems fine. They're not acting stressed. So you miss what the vet is actually telling you: your cat is so emotionally unsafe that they're self-harming to cope. Obsessive grooming is a self-soothing behavior. When a cat is experiencing psychological distress, grooming becomes a compulsive coping mechanism. The repetitive motion is calming. The focus on one activity quiets the anxious brain. But when the grooming becomes compulsive, obsessive to the point of self-injury, it's a sign the cat's emotional distress is severe. Your cat isn't just dealing with anxiety. They're in a state of emotional dysregulation so intense they're harming themselves. This is a red flag. It's your cat saying, "I'm not okay. This is serious." A 2019 study examined psychogenic alopecia, stress-induced hair loss, in cats and its underlying causes. Researchers found that, environmental stress is the primary trigger. Conflict with other pets is a major stressor. Unpredictable human behavior increases risk. Lack of environmental enrichment is a significant factor. Separation anxiety contributes significantly. When researchers addressed the underlying stressors, hair regrowth occurred within 4 to 8 weeks. The self-harm stopped because the emotional distress decreased. Most owners assume psychogenic alopecia requires medication. And sometimes it does. But first, addressing the emotional unsafety can resolve the behavior completely. Owners who investigate and address the stressor causing emotional unsafety find that their cat's self-harming behavior stops and hair regrows naturally. If your cat is over-grooming to the point of hair loss, investigate emotional safety factors. Are there environmental stressors, loud noises, chaos? Is there conflict with other pets? Is your schedule unpredictable? Has something changed in their environment? Are they getting adequate enrichment? Create a comprehensive safety plan, establish predictability and routine. Minimize stressors where possible. Provide environmental enrichment. Create safe spaces and hiding spots. Address conflict with other animals. Consider calming interventions, felloway, supplements. Monitor grooming behavior as you address stressors. Over 4 to 8 weeks, obsessive grooming should decrease and hair should begin regrowing. If behavioral intervention doesn't resolve it within 2 months, then medication might be appropriate alongside behavioral changes. When you address the emotional unsafety driving the self-harm, your cat stops overgrooming. The bald patches fill in. The raw skin heals. Your cat is no longer harming themselves because they're no longer in a state that requires coping through self-injury. This transformation shows that the emotional safety has genuinely returned. Your cat startles at the smallest sounds. A door closing. A cup falling. A normal voice raising slightly. They jump, hiss, sometimes flee in panic. You think, my cat is just sensitive to sounds. Some cats are more reactive. But what if your cat's startle response isn't sensitivity? What if it's hypervigilance? What if their nervous system is in such a constant state of threat detection that they're unable to process normal stimuli as safe? There's a difference between a normal startle response, sudden stimulus causes brief alert, and hypervigilance, nervous system in constant threat detection mode, interpreting all stimuli as potential danger. A cat with healthy emotional safety can startle normally. They notice something unexpected, briefly alert, then settle. The threat detection system briefly activates, then deactivates. But a cat with hypervigilance can't deactivate. Their nervous system is so dysregulated that even predictable sounds register as threats. Their threat detection system never fully rests. This is emotionally exhausting. Your cat is living in a constant state of low-level panic. A 2020 study examined startle responses and nervous system regulation in cats with varying emotional safety backgrounds. Researchers measured baseline heart rate and cortisol startle response intensity to predictable sounds, recovery time to baseline after startle, habituation to repeated stimuli. Emotionally safe cats showed rapid startle and rapid recovery, habituation to repeated sounds, normal baseline physiological markers. Emotionally unsafe cats showed exaggerated startle response, prolonged recovery time, no habituation to repeated sounds, elevated baseline physiological stress. When researchers addressed the underlying emotional unsafety, startle response normalized. Not immediately, but over weeks as the nervous system learned safety again. Most owners accept the extreme startle response as personality. My cat is just jumpy. They don't realize it's a sign of ongoing nervous system dysregulation. Owners who address emotional safety find their cat's startle response normalizes. They still startle, but appropriately, with normal recovery time and habituation. Track your cat's startle response. How intense is it? How long does recovery take? Does your cat habituate to repeated stimuli? If startle is extreme, recovery is prolonged, and habituation doesn't occur, your cat's nervous system is dysregulated. Investigate emotional safety. What environmental stressors exist? Is your cat experiencing anxiety around specific triggers? Has their trauma history been addressed? Are they getting adequate enrichment? Is their routine predictable? Create an environment of calm predictability, minimize unexpected loud noises, establish routine and consistency, provide safe spaces for retreat, use calming support, music, pheromones, ensure adequate play and enrichment. Over 6 to 8 weeks of consistent safety signals, the nervous system should begin to recalibrate. Startle responses should normalize. When you help your cat's nervous system feel safe enough to downregulate from hypervigilance, their startle response normalizes. They're no longer jumping at every sound. They can settle and relax. They're living without constant low-level panic. This shift shows genuine nervous system healing. Remember, at the beginning, I mentioned something so subtle that most owners miss it as a danger sign. This is it. And it might be the most telling indicator of all. Your cat has lost their personality. Their eyes are dull. They show minimal emotional response to anything. They're not panicked or aggressive or obviously distressed. They're just blank. They're going through the motions of life without actually being present. This isn't calm. This is dissociation. Your cat has emotionally shut down. Emotional shutdown is the final stage of prolonged emotional unsafety. Your cat didn't just withdraw. They dissociated. They disconnected from their emotional experience because it became too painful to feel. It's a survival mechanism. When the nervous system can't regulate anymore, it goes offline. The cat becomes empty because feeling is too overwhelming. This is critical. A cat showing flat affect isn't finally calm. They're in a state of emotional emergency. Their personality has disappeared because they've had to numb themselves. A 2021 study examined emotional responsiveness in chronically stressed cats. Researchers found that cats exposed to prolonged emotional unsafety develop what's called learned resignation, a state where they stop responding emotionally to stimuli. These cats showed minimal facial expressions, reduced vocalizations, decreased engagement with toys and people, dull, lifeless eyes, minimal behavioral response to environmental changes. When researchers removed chronic stressors and provided intensive emotional safety intervention, the personality gradually returned. It took time, weeks to months, but emotional responsiveness came back. The critical finding: the longer the emotional shutdown, the longer recovery takes. But recovery is possible if the underlying safety is restored. Most owners interpret the flat effect as peace. She's finally calm. She's no longer anxious. They don't realize they're witnessing emotional shutdown, not emotional peace. Owners who recognize this sign and address emotional safety aggressively can help their cat re-engage with life and recover their personality. Assess your cat's emotional responsiveness. Do they show minimal reaction to toys or play? Respond minimally to your presence? Have dull, lifeless eyes? Show flat facial expressions? Vocalize minimally? Seem emotionally absent? If yes, your cat has emotionally shut down. This requires intensive intervention, immediate priorities, identify all sources of emotional stress and eliminate them, create an environment of complete safety and predictability, provide intense, gentle engagement without pressure, ensure excellent basic care, nutrition, clean environment, consider veterinary evaluation for medication support. Recovery process, reintroduce engaging activities, slowly use food rewards to rebuild motivation, provide consistent, gentle attention, celebrate small signs of personality re-emergence, be patient. Recovery takes weeks to months, monitor for signs of re-engagement, brighter eyes, increased vocalizations, toy interest, personality emergence. When emotional safety is restored and your cat re-engages with life, their personality returns. Their eyes brighten. They vocalize. They play. They show emotional responsiveness again. They're coming back to life. This transformation shows that genuine emotional safety has been restored and your cat's nervous system has learned to trust again. If these strange behaviors are finally making sense to you, if you're realizing your cat has been communicating emotional unsafety all along, hit like and subscribe so we can share this with every owner who wants to understand what their cat has been trying to tell them. On CreatureCode, we decode the strange behaviors that scream emotional distress. Because understanding your cat isn't about luck. It's about recognizing that every weird thing they do is a message: I don't feel safe. Your cat isn't being difficult. They're being desperate. The bathtub hiding, the pained meow, the obsessive following, the self-harm, the startle response, the emotional shutdown, it's all communication. Your cat is telling you they need you to make them feel safe. And you can. You can create an environment of predictability, protection, and peace. You can help your cat's nervous system learn that the world, your world, is safe. Start today. Identify the strange behavior that resonates most. Address the underlying emotional unsafety. Show your cat that they're finally, truly safe. Thanks for watching. And go make your cat feel safe. They've been waiting for you to understand.